Which empire is the greatest? The characteristics used to find out the greatest empire are as follows: a powerful military, a steadfast government, and a firm economy. In class, I researched the Mali Empire, the Mayan Empire, and lastly the Byzantine Empire, and came to the conclusion that the Byzantine Empire was the strongest and greatest ancient empire because of their military, their unwavering government, and their stable economy. Let's take a look at the Mayan Empire. The Mayan Empire was ranked third because there was really no military. War was only waged for resources, and there wasn't even a standing army. The government of the Mayans revolved around three major cities: Chichen Itza, Mayapan, and Usmal. Lords and priests of these regions really controlled all laws, and there wasn't a uniform law across the entire empire. At the end of the Mayan reign, caciques and their 19 different sections in the Mayan Empire controlled their own tribes, leaving a very broken government. The economical state of the Mayan Empire was actually very good. Many subsistence items such as corn, clothes, food was produced locally, and other prestige items such as obsidian were shipped in. Also, the many foreign substances found in Mayan gravestones indicate a very good economy. Although the economical state of the Mayan Empire was very good, it was a poor government and there was absolutely no military, landing the Mayan Empire in third place. Up next was the Mali Empire. The Mali Empire received a second place ribbon because the military was pretty good. The military was comprised of tribes in the entire empire that were given a quota for the amount of soldiers they needed to provide for the army. In total, there was around 100,000 men, and troops could be deployed quickly thanks to the help from the river tribes, leaving them with a good military. The Mali Empire also had a pretty good government. The Mansa, or emperor, controlled everything and left a uniform rule across the entire empire. Later, the Mali Empire was divided into provinces governed by furba, pretty much governors, that maintained rule and local laws. Although there was one thing wrong with the governments of the Mali Empire. Many government officials were Muslim, and others who didn't agree with Muslim faiths were often criticized and even killed. The economical state of the Mali Empire was extremely good. The Mali Empire enclosed 3 large gold mines. They taxed all the gold and salt that came into the empire, and it was a large trading post for Western Africa, leaving them a very rich empire and landing them a really good economy. Although they had a fantastic economy, the government was alright, and they had a good military, but nothing like the Byzantine Empire coming up next. Last but certainly not least was the infamous Byzantine Empire. This empire had a fantastic military. Conscription was practiced for the first time in this empire, which is all able-bodied men needing to participate in the army. They also were the first to use a combined army where infantry and horsemen rode together. They were surrounded by great powers such as the Abyssinians and needed a great defense to get by. As successful as their military, the Byzantine Empire also had a great government. The emperor had all the power and led to a uniform law across the empire. The governmental reform of themes increased the army size. A theme was a zone or region that required a quota of ground soldiers to be given to the army, increasing the army greatly and leading to more conquesting. In fact, the Byzantine government was so successful, many surrounding countries based their government off of the empire. Lastly, the economical state of the Byzantine Empire was really strong. Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire, was a hub of trading in Eastern Europe. The economic foundation of the empire was on trade, and the state strictly controlled everything that came in and out, leaving them very wealthy. They lost power ultimately as a result of the Fourth Crusade, when all commercial dominance was pretty much returned to Western Europe. Although one could argue that the Mali Empire had a greater economy than the Byzantine Empire, the Byzantine had a far better government and an extremely strong military, leaving them with the first place trophy of the greatest empire in history.